Companies ask, how do we provide our customers a differentiated experience? How can our organization better predict customer behaviors? And how will we continue to grow and develop our most important customer relationships? For the past decade, the Chapman Group's team of loyalty professionals has been helping organizations answer these questions and optimize their customer feedback programs. Here we meet with Dennis Chapman, president and founder of the Chapman Group, who will assist with answering important questions on NPS, the Net Promoter Score metric, and how the Chapman Group's loyalty professionals can fine-tune and fill in the gaps of the Net Promoter Score strategy.
Hello, I'm Dennis Chapman, president and founder of the Chapman Group, as well as the strategic business unit of the Chapman Group, Loyalty Professional Services. The Corporate Executive Board did a study recently that really measured the difference between a loyal customer and a satisfied customer as related to 4 key factors. New product penetration, and there was a positive delta of 25% more effective product penetration in loyal versus satisfied customers. Overall account penetration, there's a delta of greater than 43% of penetration in customers who were loyal versus satisfied. Share of wallet, there was a delta greater than 31% of greater share of wallet in loyal versus satisfied customers. And finally, in the renewal and repurchase from a supplier, there was a 14% greater delta of customers who renewed and repurchased from suppliers when they were loyal versus just satisfied. What links us to the importance of measuring loyalty and having loyal and committed customers is an additional quote from Harvard Business Review. Harvard Business Review said, except in a few rare instances, a complete and extraordinary customer experience is the key to securing customer loyalty and generating superior long-term financial performance. Many in the Net Promoter Score, sometimes often referred to simply as NPS community, have discovered that the data that they are receiving through the Net Promoter Score methodology just does not give them the necessary facts to take the right actions they need to create more loyal and committed clients. Businesses now need to ask themselves, why move forward with other, more effective and comprehensive loyalty measurements?
Dennis, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend Net Promoter Score as an enterprise customer feedback metric?
I'd probably give it somewhere around a 3 or a 4, because I believe that when you start measuring B2B relationships, it's very critical to have more information than the current approach or version of Net Promoter Score provides a supplier about their customers.
Why should suppliers go beyond the Net Promoter Score metric to get customer feedback?
Clients are much more willing in that environment to give you more specific feedback around the people they interact from a supplier, the solutions they get from a supplier, and the organization of the supplier. And those specific data points, which would really convert into questions to a client, are very critical pieces of information to have since they do feed an account plan or a strategic account plan or a market plan for that supplier around those customers.
Does Net Promoter Score provide data indicating the probability of a customer defecting?
It does not. If somebody was to recommend you, it does not necessarily mean they wouldn't still attrit. Giving a better offer comes up in the next month, 2 months, or 6 months. So I would say that you could look at it to say, if you have a high percentage of your customers who recommend you, you're certainly in better shape than if you didn't have any data or knew they didn't recommend you. But from purely answering the question of, is it a good measurement of attrition or predictability of attrition, I wouldn't bank my revenue from my top customers on that one thing.
Does Net Promoter Score indicate customer dependency on the supplier?
The Net Promoter Score, in my observation and my experiences, really measures the experience that a customer's had with a supplier as of that point. So if it's a favorable experience, in the previous world, we might call that satisfied. They would more than likely say, we recommend this supplier. You probably could weakly make a correlation again that why would anybody say they recommend you unless their experience is better than average or higher than normal. For example, in a Net Promoter Score, it's a 9 or 10. So for somebody to give a supplier that high a grading, I'd say there's something certainly a little more extraordinary than satisfied, but I couldn't definitely say that was a true measure of dependency.
Why do companies still use and rely on the Net Promoter Score metric for customer feedback?
I think when the Net Promoter Score came about, it hit a couple real hot buttons for users. So it was easy, it was simple, and it took very little time to do. So it hit some of the real important chords as it related to getting feedback from a customer than traditional laborious satisfaction surveys. So that, in many businesses, was very appealing to the management team to say, look, could we get a metric, a simple metric, that would be easy to attain, very inexpensive to attain, and had some degree of credibility and experience, so that we could at least try to move beyond traditional satisfaction measurements. And the introduction of the question, would you recommend, as being one of the pillars of that, was logical at the time. So it had a lot of the characteristics that played very well to corporate America, from easy to use simplicity, and at least now for the first time ever getting what they would perceive as a more viable assessment of the relationship with their customer.
How does Net Promoter Score impact the account planning process?
I do believe that when we do account planning, I think there's two sides of the relationship we want to look at more intensely. One is what I'll call the satisfaction or performance side, which is getting data points around the people, the relationships, the solutions, and certainly the organizational infrastructure of the supplier. And the second, which is an entirely different bucket, is this whole area around measuring the loyalty or commitment of a customer to the supplier. So I think as a part of this overall loyalty or commitment measurement, that question, and forget the NPS inference, that question, would a customer recommend a supplier, still plays a very important role within the construct of the whole relationship assessment. It's not the single point that we would want, because there's additional points with that. For example, the importance of that supplier to their business, and maybe their attitude towards continuing to do business. So there's this second bucket of measurements in addition to performance and satisfaction, which really revolves more around the propensity to be a loyal and committed customer.
What other feedback data points are essential to the account planning process?
When you're building a strategic account plan or a market plan around top accounts or something, there are some very critical data points that I would want to know very specific feedback around. For example, I mentioned people. I'd really want to know how our customer viewed the responsiveness, the knowledge, the skills, the communication, the availability of those people, because it's the fiber influence of satisfaction. When it relates to a solution, we recommend, and our customers appreciate this, that we want to know not just if they're satisfied about a solution, but is the solution really have an economic impact for them? Is it aligned to them, to the customer today, as well as to the future? We often recommend a question somewhere around, is the solution going to meet their needs in the future? Is that supplier bringing innovative solutions? And then finally, the organization, there's always this question from a client about their supplier. You know, are they going to be in business? Are they aligned? Are they both aligned to directionally and culturally, in some cases, to where each of them need to go? You could have a situation where a supplier is not in the market to bring out new products or to go into more marketplaces or to be a thought leader, yet a client is looking for a supplier as an organization that has that as sort of their core pillar of principles of operation. So these are probably more specific examples that if I've got a customer providing me feedback, I'd want to get a little broader breadth of specific feedback about these areas of people, solutions, and organization.
Is Net Promoter Score an adequate tool for business-to-business customer experience measurement?
I think the NPS in an era was a good measurement. It took a lot of organizations at first in the B2C community to a much higher degree of understanding their customers. I think it really accomplished some of that also in the B2B community as well. We live now in an era where economics are very critical to relationships. We live in an era where competition is greater than ever on a global basis. And we live in an era now where that knowledge wins. So from a supplier standpoint, and I might even argue from a customer standpoint, the more knowledge, the more sharing, the transparency between the two parties, there's a higher degree that both of those organizations can sustain the growth, the profitability, and the longevity they each seek. To accomplish that, I really think we've got to peel the onion back a little bit and get more data and facts high, wide, and deep in an organization from multiple points of contacts in our customers to be able to do that and to meet those business objectives for the future.
Why should businesses consider moving beyond the Net Promoter Score metric?
This is an excellent question to consider. The Net Promoter Score has historically been a consumer satisfaction index and metric that some organizations have adapted into the business-to-business world as their metric for measuring customer satisfaction. Fred Reichel, a very noted author on the subject of loyalty, has made some very excellent points around this whole subject of loyalty that we need to consider as we explore this topic. He's often said that loyalty in business is not dead, as well that loyalty management works. It quite often produces and delivers extraordinary results. So as we answer this question about the use of the Net Promoter Score, we must also tie in the importance of our conversation around the topic of measuring loyalty. We all know that knowledge is power. So what knowledge could best serve both the suppliers and clients of suppliers? Knowledge that would enable them to better share critical information about each other. Information that when they collaborate on these facts and knowledge, it will increase the probability of both of them, the supplier and the customer, exceeding their business objectives. Those facts in itself start to highlight the importance of measuring loyalty in the whole business-to-business customer relationship. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share these thoughts with you. And hopefully as you move your organization forward, you can appreciate the importance of looking at next generation programs and tools that help you create more loyal and committed customers. Thank you.
In summary, in a more competitive global economy, it is important to have more holistic feedback from clients to plan around and act on. Understanding the economic impact of the relationship is critical. Extraordinary client knowledge is absolutely necessary to create a high degree of supplier relevancy, resulting in high levels of client retention. Please share your feedback with us in the comment section below.